Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Going to be giving you Manchester United's player ratings so far this season. So I'll start with David De Gea. I'll give him a 8 out of 10. De Gea deserves a lot of credit because he's done really well so far this season. De Gea is now back to his best. In the 1-0 win against Norwich, De Gea got man of the match. De Gea made good saves to deny Teemu Pukki. He also denied Kabak twice from 2 headed chances. De Gea also did really well in the 2-0 win against Villarreal. He made some fantastic saves in that game. He also did really well in the 1-1 draw against Chelsea because he made some good saves in the first half of that game. In the 2-0 defeat to Man City, De Gea made around 4 world-class saves in the first half. De Gea wants to spend many more years at Manchester United. Well, he's been a long servant. As it stands, this season is De Gea's 11th season at Man United. He has been with us since the Ferguson era. De Gea has won everything domestically at the football club, and he's made over 500 appearances for Man United in all competitions. He's made over 300 appearances in the Premier League. De Gea has got under 2 years left on his current contract, and he receives £375,000 a week. Revert back to last summer, De Gea reclaimed the #1 spot back, as he did decide to cut short his holiday by 2 weeks to fight for the starting place, and De Gea did say that he was determined to fight for his Man United future. Now, moving on to Dean Henderson. I'm just going to give Dean Henderson a 4 out of 10. Henderson doesn't get in goal much. And Henderson has only made 2 appearances this season. Obviously, he was in goal in the 1-1 draw against Young Boys. To his credit, he did well in that game because he made some good saves. And he did well against West Ham in the Carabao Cup. Towards the end of last season, Henderson got that #1 jersey, and he did well in a lot of the games he was in goal for last season. Earlier on this season, Henderson was out with COVID for a while. Henderson's got that experience behind him because he endured 2 successful loans with Sheffield. He's had other loan spells before with Stockport, Grimsby and Shrewsbury. And before the start of last season, he committed his future to the club because he did sign a 5-year contract with an option of a 6th year. Henderson is leaving Manchester United in January because Fabrizio Romano said not so long ago that Henderson wants to leave Manchester United in January to get more game time. Now, moving on to Amanuan Basaka, he's going to get a 6 out of 10. I think he's been poor in quite a lot of games this season. I thought he started the season well, to be fair. Basaka's had a couple of injuries in recent weeks. Basaka recently got banned from driving for 6 months. And he got fined 31,500. But Basaka is a good right back defensively, but the attacking side of his game is not so good. There is aspects of his game that I've got to improve. He's got to show more attacking intent, his positioning's got to improve, and his crossing has got to improve. Manchester United got Basaka for 50 million from Crystal Palace back in the summer of 2019. Basaka did get sent off in the 2-1 defeat to Young Boys earlier on in the season. Plus, in the 1-1 draw with Chelsea, Basaka gave away the penalty because he brought down Thiago Silva in the box. Moving on to Diego Dalor. He's going to get a 5 out of 10. Dalor has started a few games in recent weeks, only because Basaka wasn't available. Now, Dalor played against Norwich. He weren't too good in that one, to be honest with you. He got booked in that game. I thought Dalor was far superior in the games against Crystal Palace and Arsenal than he was against Norwich. I don't think Dalor was too good in the game against, was it Young Boys? Dalor is our backup right back to Amanuan Basaka. You know, last season Dalor had a loan spell with AC Milan. And reflecting on that again, some experience. Man United got Dalor from Porto for around £19 million. Now I'm hearing Dalor is staying at Manchester United in January. There has been a few clubs interested in him. Now, moving on to Eric Bailly, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Because he has done well in all the games he's played in this season, apart from the game against Man City when Man United lost 2-0. Obviously, City's first goal came from an Eric Bailly own goal. Bailly played very well in the 1-1 draw against Young Boys. You know, he made some good clearances and some good blocks. Bailly also played very well against West Ham in the Carabao Cup. He also played well in the 1-1 draw against Chelsea. So there you go. You know, Bailly could leave Manchester United next year. Bailly lost his place in the team a while ago with the club signing Varan last summer. And obviously Lindelof has been preferred to Bailly. My concern about Bailly is injury prone, so in that aspect he's a liability. Towards the end of last season, Bailly signed a new contract with Man United until 2024. There's an option of a further year. Bailly's been at Manchester United since 2016. Man United got Bailly from Villarreal for around £30 million. Now moving on to Rafael Varan. I'll give him a 7 out of 10. Because I think when Varan has been fit, he has made a big difference. Varan is obviously unavailable at the moment as he's still out with injury. Varan should be available for the game against Newcastle on the 27th of December. Earlier on in the season, Varan had a groin injury and he was out with that groin injury for a few weeks. So he's endured a couple of injuries at Man United since he signed. Manchester United got Varan in a deal worth 41 million with add-ons included. Man United paid around 34 million up front. He's got a contract with Man United until 2025. There's an option of a further year. Varan is regarded as one of the best centre-halves in the world. He's highly experienced and he's got a good pedigree behind him, because look at the amount of silverware he won when he was at Real Madrid, and he was also a long-serving player when he was at Real Madrid. Moving on to Victor Lindelof. He's going to get a 5 out of 10. I think he's been poor in a lot of games this season, but there again in recent weeks he's put some good performances out. I've always had my reservations about Lindelof. I think the club should consider selling him. Manchester United got Lindelof from Benfica back in 2017 for around £31 million. As you all know, Lindelof had to come off in the game against Norwich because he was suffering chest pains and breathing difficulties. After the game, Rangnick said that Lindelof is okay. Moving on to Harry Maguire. He's going to get a 4 out of 10. Maguire has been very poor in a lot of games this season, and he's been even worse since he come back from that calf injury. Maguire has done nowhere near as well as a lot of Manchester United fans expected. I thought he was far superior at Leicester than he has been at Man United. You know, Manchester United overpaid for Maguire, got him for 80 million from Leicester, so he's the most expensive centre-half in the world at the moment and the second most expensive signing at the club. Yes, Maguire did play against Norwich. He was poor in that one. He did have a good headed chance though from the edge of the box, produced a good save from Tim Krul. Maguire didn't do too bad in the 1-0 win against Crystal Palace. It was the best performance he put out for a long time. You know, I'm hoping, you know, Maguire can regain his form under Rangnick. Moving on to Luke Shaw. He's going to get a 4 out of 10. I think Luke Shaw has been very, very poor this season. And I'm shocked in that aspect because revert back to last season, Luke Shaw was absolutely superb. Obviously, Luke Shaw has had a couple of injuries this season. Not so long ago, he had a concussion. He missed like 4 games in a row in all competitions. And he had an injury before that. You know, Shaw was absolutely terrible in the 5-0 defeat to Liverpool. He was responsible for like 2 or 3 of Liverpool's goals. He was also very poor in the 2-0 defeat to Man City, and Luke Shaw was the culprit for, you know, Man City's second goal. You know, Luke Shaw has been at Manchester United for around 8 years, so he's been a long-serving player. He's got under 2 years left on his contract. Moving on to Alex Telles, I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. Telles has played quite a lot of football in recent weeks, only because obviously Luke Shaw did have that concussion. Telles obviously played against Norwich. I don't think he was that good in the game against Norwich. He did have a good chance in the game against Norwich from a free kick, hit the crossbar. I thought Telles was far superior in the games against Crystal Palace, Arsenal and Chelsea than he was against Norwich. Earlier on in the season, Telles had an injury. The reason Manchester United brought Telles in was to provide competition for Luke Shaw. Man United got to Les for 15.4 million from Porto. Moving on to Paul Pogba. He's going to get a 7 out of 10. Because revert back towards the start of the season when Pogba was fit, Pogba was in scintillating form. You know, Pogba has got 7 assists so far in the league this season. And he produced good performances in the last couple of months of last season as well. Obviously, Pogba is now out with a thigh injury for a while. He's out with his thigh injury until next year. Pogba got the thigh injury in France training earlier on in the season. But he has been stepping up his recovery, Pogba, because not so long ago he come back from Dubai. Man United may sell Paul Pogba next month. Rangnick did say not so long ago that he won't try to convince Paul Pogba to stay at Man United if he wants to go. Pogba's current contract at Man United expires next summer. Revert back to the start of the season, Pogba rejected a new Man United contract offer. You know, Pogba has had a long-running transfer saga. He's been relentlessly linked with Real Madrid. His former club Juventus have been in for him. He did enjoy 4 good years at Juventus before he rejoined Man United. Obviously PSG have been in for him, Barcelona have been in for him, and Inter Milan have been in for him before. Pogba's agent Mino Raiola has been working hard now for quite some time to get his client to move away from the football club. Manchester United paid 89 million for Pogba, so reflecting on that is our most expensive signing at the moment. This season has been Pogba's 6th season at Man United since he rejoined. He's won 3 trophies at the club so far, and we had Pogba when he was a lot younger under the Ferguson era, but had to let him go due to limited appearances. Moving on to Fred. He's going to get a 5 out of 10. Because he has been inconsistent in a lot of games for Man United. But you know what? In recent weeks, Fred has been in scintillating form. You know, I thought Fred was very good in the game against Norwich. He was probably our best outfield player. Fred also played very well in the 1-0 win against Crystal Palace. He scored a stunning goal late on. Fred also made an impact in the 3-2 win against Arsenal because he got an assist in that game, and he also won the penalty as he got brought down by Martin Odegaard. And Fred did well in the 1-1 draw against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. He squandered a chance in that game that came from a mistake from Mendy. Fred, I hope he can continue with these good performances. You know, I have heavily criticised him before. Manchester United got Fred for 50 million from Shakhtar Donetsk a few years ago now. Moving on to Scott McTominay, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. You know, McTominay's been poor, I'd say, in a lot of games this season. McTominay did well against Leeds on the opening day. He also put a decent performance out against Norwich. Personally, I don't think McTominay is good enough to represent the club. I don't think he can get to that level where we want him to be at. He's been part of the club for a long time. Just after the first lockdown last year, McTominay signed a 5-year contract. So reflecting on that, he committed his future to the club. Nemanja Matic, he's going to get a 4 out of 10. Matic has had his good games at Man United, but he's also enjoyed a lot of poor games as well. Matic, I think, has recently been out with a cold. Matic did play in the 1-1 draw against Young Boys. Surprisingly, he started at centre-half. I don't think he'll be deployed as a centre-half again. You know, Matic isn't one of our first choice midfielders, but despite that, he still seems to get his opportunities. Matic is the only predominant centre defensive mid that Man United have got. There's a good chance he'll leave next year, Matic. Manchester United got Matic from Chelsea back in 2017 for 40 million. Now, Donnie Van Der Beek. He's going to get a 6 out of 10. You know, Donnie Van Der Beek doesn't start a lot of games, does he? You know, he's played nowhere near as much as I expected him to. Obviously, Van Der Beek didn't start against Norwich, but he did come on. Van Der Beek played very well in the 1-1 draw against Young Boys. He was in an unfamiliar role in that game. You know, he was a holding midfielder. He played a poor pass though in the game against Young Boys that led to the Young Boys equaliser. Van Der Beek obviously come off the bench and scored in the 4-1 defeat to Watford. Did you know that Van Der Beek has only scored 2 goals for the club, and he's been a Manchester United player for over a year and a half now? This season's been his second full season at Man United. Van Der Beek will not be allowed to leave Manchester United in January because Rangnick, or should I say Van Der Beek, is valued by Rangnick. You know, Manchester United got Van Der Beek in a deal worth 40 million with add-ons included. He's got a contract with Man United until 2025. There's an option of a further year, and he's versatile. He can play in 3 different roles. Now, Jesse Lingard. I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. You know, we was expecting Lingard to get a lot of opportunities in the first team this season, but obviously he hasn't been given a lot of opportunities. Lingard doesn't really get in the team. Lingard, though, did score the winning goal in the 2-1 win against West Ham earlier on in the season. You know, he did come off the bench. Yesterday, I gave you the news on Jesse Lingard. It said Lingard will be staying at Manchester United in January to fight for his place under Ralph Rangnick. It recently said that Man United set a 20 million asking price on Jesse Lingard for him to leave in January. Newcastle are no longer in now for Lingard, reflecting on that. Earlier on this season, it said West Ham wanted to re-sign Lingard. At the second half of last season, Lingard enjoyed a 4-month loan spell at West Ham and he made an impact, and it did mention earlier on in the season that Lingard was interested in going abroad. Lingard's current contract at Man United expires next summer. Lingard has been part of the club for a long time. You know, risen up our academy. He's had his good periods at Man United. He's also had his bad periods. Bruno Fernandez. He's going to get a 5 out of 10. I think Fernandez has enjoyed a lot of poor games this season. You know, last season Bruno Fernandez was exceptional. Fernandez, I thought, was very poor in the game against Norwich. You know, he got dispossessed far too many times. You know, revert back to the Crystal Palace game, his finishing was poor because the chances were there for him, but he couldn't convert them. He did alright in the 3-2 win against Arsenal because he scored in that game. I think that was the last goal Fernandez scored. I think the last assist he provided in the Premier League was the 3-0 win against Tottenham. But let me put into the equation, Fernandez starts the vast majority of Manchester United's games. So, reflecting on that, he will become fatigued. But Fernandez is one of our best players and he's one of the best signings we've made since Ferguson retired. You know, Fernandez has been a Manchester United player now for almost 2 years. Manchester United got Fernandez from Sporting Lisbon back in January 2020. He has won quite a few awards at Man United. Earlier on in the season, Fernandez made it clear that he wants to stay at Man United. And when he first came to Man United, he said, "I've come to Manchester to win trophies." Mason Greenwood, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. I think Greenwood's done well this season. And he's done really well since he recovered from COVID. Greenwood came on against Norwich, didn't he? Greenwood started the 1-1 draw against Young Boys. He played very well in that one. You know, he scored a very good volley. Greenwood obviously came on in the 1-0 win against Crystal Palace and got the assist for the Fred goal. Greenwood scored a stunning goal in the 4-2 defeat to Leicester earlier on in the season. At one point, Greenwood went a while without scoring. You know, Mason Greenwood made his senior debut for Man United back in 2019. He's been a United player since the age of 7, so he's been part of the club for a long time. And last season, Greenwood signed a new 4-year contract. By the way, it recently said that Greenwood is unhappy that Cristiano Ronaldo always starts. Revert back to 2019, it said Manchester United offered Mason Greenwood a life-changing amount of money for him to leave. Jadon Sancho, I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. Sancho looks a better player since Solskjaer got sacked. I don't think Sancho was good against Norwich, but he was good in the first half against Crystal Palace, but he faded away in the second half. Sancho was very, very good in the game against Villarreal away and in the game against Chelsea away because he scored in both of them games. Sancho's only scored 2 goals for the club so far. Sancho, though, has done nowhere near as well as a lot of United fans expected, but it does take some players time to settle in. Revert back to when Man United had Solskjaer. You know, Man United couldn't get the best out of Sancho because Solskjaer was persistently playing him out of position, and there was quite a few games Sancho didn't even play in under Ole. You know, Man United got Sancho in a deal worth 78 million, with add-ons included. Man United paid around 73 million up front, and Sancho's got a contract with Man United until June 2026 as an option of a further year. Cristiano Ronaldo, he's going to get 8 out of 10. Ronaldo's done really well since he's re-signed, and he has rescued Manchester United quite a few times this season. You know, Ronaldo scored the winner in the game against Norwich from the penalty spot. You know, Ronaldo won the penalty as he got brought down by Max Aarons. You know, Ronaldo now has 13 goals in all competitions since he re-signed, and he's got 802 goals in his career. Ronaldo also saved Manchester United in the 2-2 draw against Atalanta. because Ronaldo netted twice in stoppage time at the end of both halves. You know, Ronaldo also scored the winner against Villarreal earlier on in the season. So there you go. And Ronaldo scored twice on his second debut in the 4-1 win against Newcastle earlier on in the season. Ronaldo, back in October, got named Player of the Month, and back in September he got named Premier League Player of the Month, so that's back-to-back awards since he re-signed. Ronaldo's won over 30 trophies in his playing career, including 5 Ballon d'Ors. Ronaldo's got a contract to Man United till 2023. There's an option of a further year. Ronaldo receives £480,000 a week, so he's the highest earner at Man United at the moment. Ronaldo wears a number 7 shirt, and Man United got him for 19.8 million with add-ons included. Marcus Rashford, he's going to get a 4 out of 10. You know, Rashford has endured a lot of poor games since he come back from that shoulder problem. Rashford hasn't been the same player since he come back from that shoulder problem. So I have said Rangnick must drop Rashford. Rashford was very poor against Norwich, wasn't he? You know, he got dispossessed far too many times and couldn't really get many runs in behind. Rashford, I thought, was poor in the game against Palace. He was also poor in the 3-2 win against Arsenal, but he still managed to get an assist in that game. I thought he was poor in the first half against Chelsea, but he did look better in the second half, to be fair. Rashford was quite poor as well in the 4-2 defeat to Leicester, even though he did score on his comeback in that game. Reports from Spain recently said that Marcus Rashford could leave Manchester United, as Barcelona and PSG are said to be interested. Rashford's got 18 months left on his contract. Rashford has been part of the club for a long time. He's been a United player since the age of 7, and he's been in our senior squad since 2016. Anthony Elanga, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. I haven't had a great deal of a perception on him. He's only just recently broke into our first team, hasn't he? Elanga obviously started in the 1-1 draw against Young Boys. He had a good chance in that game that produced a good save from the Young Boys goalkeeper, and he also came on in the 1-0 win against Crystal Palace. I did say though, didn't I, that Anthony Elanga looks a good asset for the first team squad.
Whose is that?
My dad's.
You bought it?
Yeah.
I bought him one.
Same one? Same one?
Yeah, I've got it coming. I was buying one over here.
Don't matter. Don't matter.
Yeah, Charles bought you one as well.
But yeah.
Oh.
And Cavani and Martial. Cavani will get a 7 and Martial will get a 4. So there you go. So anyway guys, that's everything to update you with. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel if you do consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very soon.